Welcome to Metaphysical Soul Speak. I'm your host, Alanna Fox Starks. Hey guys, I hope that you're doing really well in this moment, this precious minute in time, and that you are every day in every way becoming more and more aware of your living outside of time and space. Again, with the multidimensionality talk, I know, just it's kind of a continuation of yesterday's theme in a moment, but I am more and more aware of it, and I'm becoming more and more aware of it each and every day. I am now recording this literally for the third time. I started recording my show at 9:30 at night. It is now 1:30 in the morning, Ecuadorian time. It's just been one after another problems. I've had to reboot my computer. I've had to reboot my phone. I did an hour-long introduction on my phone. It was brilliant, but it has been stuck at loading still at 4% for now this whole time, since 10:30. So, unbelievable. So now I have had to go get my microphone, which makes my voice a little deeper than normal. If you notice my voice sounds different, that's why. I might not ever even use my phone again because it just, after an hour of work, it just deleted it. So anyway, this is where I'm at. And I'm using the Anchor app, well, the Anchor website, and I can only record 29 minutes at a time. Or 30 minutes at a time. So, whereas on the phone, it's like up to an hour at a time. So, this is like, I don't know. I'm a Virgo with slight autism. I just don't like change, right? I'm trying to roll with the punches to get to what's real. So, I'm going to not go into details. I did the first 2 times I did this, but yesterday I had another weird multidimensionality experience that I didn't mention, and what it was is I had I was laying on my bed and I saw the sun shining on a brick wall, which just seems like normal, happens every day, but there was something about the octave or the tone, the energy of the sun as it hit the brick wall, and it was just the exact ping that was a vibrational match to 3 other times that this occurred in my life. And I was aware of all those times in an instant, just like that. And I remembered. I just remembered. I remembered the emotions and the feelings and the people I was with and the way the sun made me feel in that moment, how much love I felt from God himself through the portal of our sun. But I couldn't put it in those words back then, but I can now because I'm becoming more aware of my multidimensionality as the days go by, and that helped yesterday. I also was made aware today of my own personal spiritual growth. Today is the anniversary. 37 years ago tonight, my grandfather had a heart attack while changing a tire for my grandmother. And she was on her way to buying heart medicine for my grandfather because he had run out of pills. And so she got a flat tire on the way there to the pharmacy. He came and he changed a tire for her and rescued her one last time. And then he died of a heart attack. It was instant. And it was one of those things that it's like for years, it's like bargaining for like 30 years almost. Just like if only she had known, and can I go back in time and just get the pills for him? Can I, you know what I mean? It's like the bargaining. And this was the first year that I remembered that, and I thought, how sweet that everything lined up in the universe so they could spend his final moments with her. And she wouldn't feel guilty about being out of the house after dark, away from him when he died. Like, everything aligned just in their favor. And they had that one simple, very normal moment together before he left. And normally I am overcome with an enormous amount of grief when I think about my grandfather. And it's been a couple years since that happened now. And I know for me, this is a mark of my personal growth because I loved my grandma and my grandpa. God bless both of their souls. They've both gone now. They were two of my most favorite people ever that I knew personally. I mean, there's other people in the world that I love very much, and I don't know them personally in this life, but I knew them from heaven, So every now and again, I'll see them on TV and go, oh yeah, I know you. I love you, but I am aware that I have personal growth because when I think about my grandfather now, I'm so happy. I'm happy at all the memories I have of him. I'm happy at all the love and all the sweet moments that I shared with him, even the weird, normal moments, swatting flies on the porch. He thought that was great fun. We'd be outside. It's like, this is their realm. Like, we're hunting flies from, like, sitting back, relaxing at the patio table on the super cushy, amazing patio chairs, surrounded by plants that are probably attracting the flies. And just swatting flies at them, trying. We'd always miss, though. Very rarely would we actually hit a fly. They're very hard to hit, But it's just like a weird moment, super normal. Laughing our butts off every time we missed. I mean, I think my grandpa was probably drunk every day. When he got home from work, he drank a lot of beer. He's probably an alcoholic looking back, but just the weird moments, the normal moments, just going fishing with him or watching Mutual of Omaha's Wild Kingdom, trimming his ear hair. He made me trim his ear hair. I can't believe at the age of 4, he's letting me do that for him. He trusted me, though, that I wasn't going to hurt him, but my grandpa was an interesting guy, and I love my grandparents, and God bless their souls, and I think about them. But today is the anniversary of his death, and this is the first year I could just be so grateful that I even had his existence in my life, and I'm so filled with that overwhelming love for somebody that influenced me to be more loving and compassionate and to have a joy at being outside in nature. So I don't know. For me, I know I'm showing personal growth. It makes me happy. Do you guys have moments? Have you had moments like that this year? I bet you have. And I bet you've had moments like that even in the past 2 to 3 months. More than you ever did before. And where it's really markedly so. You go, wow, you know what? I've really, really, truly grown. So, I'm going to tell you guys a really weird story. I only have 30 minutes here for this introduction, and it's the third time I'm trying to get this done. But I told you guys the other day, about a week ago, that I got this weird mark on the back of my hands. And I knew I'd been abducted, and I think it might have been an abduction mark. But it was a symbol. And I think it's related to the Pleiadians, possibly Ashtar Command. But then something happened a couple days later, and I had not been abducted. All of a sudden, on the back of both of my hands, near my thumb and index finger, all of these symbols started appearing as if they'd been carved with a very fine tip of a knife. And they were all witchcraft-related symbols all over my hands. And I quickly wrote Cheryl because she knows what this is. She would know. If anyone in the world knows, it's Cheryl. And she's, my sister from another mister, okay? and she lives up in Nova Scotia. There's a whole lot of things, just tons of parallels with all the people that are newly coming into my life right now. But anyway, she looked in my Akashic records. This is what she came up with. I was about to expose an evil king for his evil sorcery in the medieval times. And he caught me doing white witchcraft. And I was a very powerful witch. And so he had these men, I guess, hold me down. Well, he took a knife and carved these symbols into my hand. He told them it was to mark me as a witch, so that when I burned at the stake the next day, I would have the carvings of a marked witch. Let that be a warning to all the other potential witches, right? God told me today I was burned at the stake 4 times for being a witch. So anyway, I guess these symbols, I'm like, well, why now? Why are these appearing on my hand now? This is weird. Well, Cheryl told me that because I was a very powerful witch, I undid all of his magic and reversed it back on him. And that I made it so that when I burned at the stake with these symbols on my hands, that in the future, in a future life, when it would be widely accepted and no one's going to freak out and burn you at the stake ever again, that these symbols would appear on the backs of my hands when I reached the same age at which I was burned at the stake in a past life. 51 in medieval times. Oh my God. That's unheard of. I mean, I was old. I mean, for then. I'm not old now. Hell, I'm really young. I look good for my age now. But back then, you got to be old, right? Well, they all appeared in my hands. And she said, all the knowledge that you've accumulated in this lifetime, spiritually speaking, and all the lifetimes between there and then and now, you have all that at your disposal, plus your hereditary magic from all your family lines. And then now, bada boom, bada bing, you just got all the medieval times power, and you were very powerful. She also was a witch at that time. And so it all came rushing back, and I got these symbols carved on the back of my hands, which now, when I try to see them, it's hard to see them. But now that I have the memory, and now they're still there. I'm looking. They're very faint. They're hard to see, but I noticed, I'm like, wait a minute. It's a pentagram inside of a hexagon. What the hell is happening? I don't think that Ashtar Command put that on the back of my hand, although I did see a symbol that might have been from them. I don't know. Very weird stuff, guys. It's like the multidimensionality is happening from every level, from our past lives to our future, to our present, to our, oh my God, in every single moment that ever was or ever will be is here now. All the power that ever was or will be is here now. Right now. So I want you guys to become more and more aware of your multidimensionality. I was watching Gaia, interviews with extra dimensionals, and on the 3rd episode, this lady, her name is Nora, she is a channeler, and she's channeling the 9th dimensional Pleiadians, and they were talking about the multidimensionality. But then she dropped down back into her, Nora, and she said something about being burned at the stake, and I went, hot to damn, that's how I know you. She's one of the people. She was a witch with me back in the day. And she said, now it's okay to be what you are. It's okay to channel. It's okay to be spiritual. And thank God we're in this time right now. Because it is. It's okay. Thank God it's okay. So speaking of multidimensionality, another thing I didn't mention, a few days ago, I had a timeline hop while I was asleep. I went to a very high dimension, a timeline with a higher a higher energy, a higher vibration. That's the word, vibration. Had a higher vibration than where I am now. And in this dream, I was friends with Donald Trump, who was the president, just like he is on this timeline. In that timeline, however, he is not a misogynistic rapist who has physically attacked people violently, who refuses to release his taxes because he's really broke. He didn't have the wall built. He didn't have anyone hurt at the border or detained. He's actually a very nice guy in this other timeline. He's not a scoundrel in this other timeline. He's actually a pretty good guy. He's very positive and very sweet and very loving and very open. He's never hurt a woman or a child or another human being. And he's really beloved by everybody. Except the media is attacking him personally in that lifetime. And since we're friends, he called me to the White House and he says, okay, I want to ask you, why is this happening to me now? And I said, because on the timeline where I come from, where I normally live, and I was like channeling myself from where I am now it's such a weird dream. And I said, because this is who you are. And he broke down and cried and he said, I'm so, so sorry. Please forgive me. I'm so sorry that I am such a horrible and despicable human being on the timeline from which you come. And I just said, okay, I forgive you. And I hugged him. And he cried and cried and cried and cried like a little boy. And I saw his aura was absolutely golden. He was such a complete and wonderful human being on that timeline. So I wanted to relay this to you guys because even though he's a horrible, despicable man that deserves every bit of that impeachment and he should be in jail at the end of it, but at the core, at the center of who he is, he really truly is God. Just like you are, just like I am, just like we all are. So the people that we deem to be evil, bad, horrible, whatever, despicable, they're actually, when you strip away all the yuckiness, all the 3D world off of them, you shine them up, they clean up pretty good. And they shine like the diamonds of God that they are. So it's another multidimensional reminder. I woke up going, oh, okay, well, that just kind of erased all the negative feelings I had for him, which is good because I don't personally need negative feelings, and neither do you. So maybe this will help you too. Forgive. And as you forgive in this moment, in this day, in this singular pinpointed time, that forgiveness reverberates to all your past lives, all your future lives, all your other selves in other dimensions and on other timelines, across all space and all time, in every dimension. You go up one. We're going to level up, Mario, and get that red mushroom. I went to Watchers today. They just basically mentioned that 2 new volcanoes are erupting in I was like Volcanoville. I mean, Alaska. Suspicious observers had a very interesting thought today that as the Ring of Fire was happening with the annular solar eclipse in Asia, that's exactly the time over a course of a 24-hour period in which many earthquakes happened in the actual Ring of Fire, as well as volcanoes going off. That is a very interesting 12-minute episode of Suspicious Observers from this afternoon on YouTube. Go check it out because halfway through that video, you're going to see a Pleiadian light ship in Nevada. And the sky is every bit as pink and peachy color as it has been here many times in the past couple days. And there's two drone vehicles and then one shuttle vehicle from the Pleiadians. And now I don't even know if I told you guys this on this introduction or not. It's the 3rd time I've done this. Michael Sherahan came to me and he adjusted my lower 3 chakras. He said that everybody who's working with the Pleiadians or who is a starseed or has ever lived on the Pleiades, and forgive me if I'm repeating this information, we're all going to start detoxing in every possible way that means that you can detox, like all the means of detoxing. So from your lower 3 chakras that hold you in your physical 3D body, we're all going to start detoxing. Each individual cell is going to become, as it detoxes, is going to turn crystalline. As it detoxes, it will turn from a carbon-based to a crystalline-based cell. As this happens, you're going more and more into the fifth dimension. All right, about 10 more minutes before this recording shuts off. Okay. Oh my God, it's so stressful. I want my phone back. It's not working. Maybe it will be. I don't know what. I've got to do something with my energy before I touch my electronic equipment. Schumann resonance for Italy just calmed today. They were at 11. Heartmath.org. California started off at 60 hertz frequency on the Schumann resonance scale, went down to 57 by 5 a.m. Now, Northland, New Zealand, as well as Hopuf, Saudi Arabia, were at 0 all the way across the board. Lithuania started off at 14 hertz frequency at midnight by 5 a.m., down to 0 again. 3 at 0 by 5 a.m. It's significant. I don't know how. If you know how, let me know. Alberta, Canada started off at 90 hertz frequency by midnight. They were down to 86 hertz frequency by 5 a.m. Always the winner chicken dinner every single time. Lately, we have Hululu, South Africa in the running at 264 hertz frequency at midnight. And by 5 a.m., they went up to 273 hertz frequency. I don't know what's going on over there, why it's so high, but I wonder if they're vibing high. They might be. All right, lesson 200 is where we are in A Course in Miracles, and this is what the main thought of the day is. There is no peace except the peace of God. There is no peace except the peace of God. This is an excellent lesson. Please go to acim.org, a Foundation for Inner Peace website, for A Course in Miracles, or download the app and read lesson 200. This is one of the best lessons I have ever read, and I don't have enough time, darn it, to read the whole thing. Oh, maybe I do. Maybe just 2 or 3 paragraphs. I have 9 minutes left, which means I left some information out. Now, if I hopefully I don't reference it in the second half of the show, which again is in 3 parts. Because I can only record 30 minutes at a time. This is so ridiculous. Okay. Seek you no further. You will not find peace except the peace of God. Accept this fact and save yourself the agony of yet more bitter disappointments, bleak despair, and sense of icy helplessness and doubt. Seek you no further. There is nothing else for you to find except the peace of God, unless you seek for misery and pain. This is the final point to which each one must come to at last. Lay aside all hope of finding happiness where there is none, of being saved by what can only hurt you, of making peace out of chaos, joy of pain, and heaven out of hell. Attempt no more to win through losing, nor die to live. You cannot but be asking for defeat. Yet you can ask as easily for love, for happiness, for eternal life, in peace that has no ending. Ask for this, and you can only win. To ask for what you have already, you must succeed. To ask that what is false be true can only fail. Forgive yourself for your vain imaginings, and seek no longer what you cannot find. For what could be more foolish than to seek and seek again for hell, when you have but to look with open eyes to find that heaven lies before you, through a door that opens easily to welcome you. Come home. You've not found your happiness in foreign places and in alien forms that have no meaning to you, though you sought to make them meaningful. This world is not where you belong. You are a stranger here, but it is given you to find the means whereby the world no longer seems to be a prison house or a jail for anyone. Freedom is given you where you be held but chains and iron doors. But you must change your mind about the purpose of the world if you would find escape. You will be bound till all the world is seen by you as blessed, and everyone made free of your mistakes and honored as he is. You made him not no more yourself, and as you free the one, the other is accepted as he is. Now it goes on for 3 more paragraphs. I don't have time. But there is no peace except peace of God. And ironically, the last half of the show, I actually say the same thing about the chains being broken in relationship to the heraldic unicorns. Crazy. It's just crazy how it all fits together. Anyway, that's it for the beginning part of the show, darlings. I'm going to take a quick break. And when I come back, we're going to have a conversation about unicorns in old literature and in our new energy fields. Coming up right after this. If you haven't heard about Anchor, it's high time you did. It is the absolute easiest way to make a podcast. First of all, it's absolutely free. Second of all, they have creation tools that allow you to record and edit your podcast right from your phone or your computer. You guys have known that I've been doing this for 8 months using the Anchor.fm app right on my cell phone, and I have done it everywhere, right? I have recorded this in my living room, my bedroom, little cafes in Quito, Ecuador, all over Cuenca. It's so absolutely easy to make your podcast, and editing is just a snap. Anchor also will distribute your podcast for you, and it took me about 2.5 months to become syndicated, and now I'm available on Spotify, Apple Podcast, and many more, and so can you. You can make money from your podcast also, and there's no minimum requirement. You get paid from your very first listener. It is everything that you need to make a podcast all in one place. So please, if you are interested in making a podcast of your very own, do not hesitate to start with Anchor. Download the free Anchor app or go to anchor.fm to get started today. Metaphysical Soul Speak is run on sponsors and listener support. This means listeners like you. If you are so inclined to support my efforts and my little podcast, please visit me at anchor.fm/metaphysical and pledge an amount of your choosing today. Thank you. All right, guys, I am attempting to record this through my microphone attached to my laptop because right when I was uploading my introduction for the show for tonight, it went ahead and my phone went ahead and went kaput and stuck on 4%, uploading at 4%, and it's been stuck there for 30 minutes. It gives me a sinking feeling I'm going to have to re-record the introduction, and I had such amazing information in it. It's like you can never recreate the exact same thing you just did, especially when it's all extemporaneous speech. You know, like I just don't have... All right, let's see. I'm trying to do an Android repair on my phone as I'm doing this. Like, what the hell? Like, all right. Anyway, hopefully this is going to work. I know that the microphone does lower the octave of my voice. This has always been my voice. I think my phone made my voice sound a little bit more high-pitched, and this makes my voice a little bit more low-pitched, but I don't know, it's kind of weird. It's just my voice is my voice, and you're going to get it one way or the other. I mean, it's never going to be 100% exact. I mean, if you're in the room with me, that would be the only way you could hear it exactly. But I looked up multidimensional on Gutenberg.org and got nothing. I then did a search for interdimensional and got nothing. Then I looked for, I think, dimensional, and I got some things related to science from like 150 years ago. And then I looked up ethereal. I think I got this one in either interdimensional or ethereal, and the book literally called Unicorns by James Huneker came up. His last name is spelled Huneker. In the event you want to read the whole book, by Gutenberg.org, but and which is free to read. It was published in 1917, but this information was officially copyrighted originally in 1906. So, and I thought it was really funny. It's this book of spleen and gossip is inscribed to my friend Edward Ziegler. I thought that was interesting because my very first last name was Ziegler when I was, my very first name was baby girl, Hester. And then when I was adopted, I was changed to Alanna Frances Ziegler. And it's spelled the same way, Ziegler. So I thought that was kind of interesting. I'm like, wow, I'm led to this, and then here, inscribed to my friend Edward Ziegler, who could be a cousin to my adopted father, very easily. So, I thought that was kind of crazy. There's a little quote here from John Galsworthy, and it says, "Come, let us lay a crazy lance in rest, and tilt at windmills under a wild sky." I thought that was cool. And then there was another quote here. It says, "He is a fribble, a sonsie fattle, whose conceits veer with the breeze like a creaking weather vane. As the sterile moon hath her librations, so must he boast of his oscillations, thinking them eternal verities. A very cockatoo in his perched up vanity, and prodigious clatter." That was a quote from the Velvet Cactus, anonymous, printed at the sign of the Cat and Cameo. And that was printed literally in 1723. It's a rare book that was, that comes from Threadneedle Street in London. I just thought that was weird. This is a really strange book. Sorry, I have to blow my nose. I have been blowing my nose all day. I've had like the worst allergies. And I've been drinking greens drinks all day, trying to get rid of this. It's like I literally have been sick for like 4 or 5 weeks, on and off. And the last week I felt not sick, but just a little slightly under the weather. I think it's this detoxing thing that Michael Sherahan of Ashtar Command has been telling me, that we're all going through it one way or another. So anyway, the chapter 1 in this book is called In Praise of Unicorns. So the name of the book is Unicorns, but the first chapter is about unicorns, and then all the other chapters literally have nothing to do with unicorns. They're just, he's talking about George Sand and four-dimensional vistas, which sounded interesting, and James Joyce, and there's an article called The Queerest Yarn in the World in this book. I mean, he has so many things. There's Prayers for the Living, the classic Chopin, the Reformation of George Moore, Pillow Land, Cross Currents in Modern French Literature. I mean, so it's kind of like a book on little short musings of the author. He's not really writing all about unicorns, but the first chapter is about unicorns, and so I thought it was very interesting, so I wanted to read this. I was led to this. I don't know exactly how it's going to go, but we'll see. Chapter 1, In Praise of Unicorns. And then it starts with a quote, which is from Through the Looking Glass, Alice in Wonderland book. I think it's the second one. The lion and the unicorn were fighting for the crown. The lion beat the unicorn all around the town. In the golden book of wit and wisdom, Through the Looking Glass, the unicorn rather disdainfully remarks that he had believed children to be fabulous monsters. Alice smilingly retorts, "Do you know, I always thought unicorns were fabulous monsters too. I never saw one alive before. Well, now that we have seen each other, said the unicorn, if you'll believe in me, I'll believe in you. Is that a bargain? Yes, if you like, said Alice. No such ambiguous bargains are needed to demonstrate the existence of unicorns. That is not for imaginative people. A mythical monster, a heraldic animal. He figures in the dictionary as the monoceros. Habitat, India. And he is the biblical Urus, U-R-U-S, sporting one horn, a goat beard, and a lion's tail. He may be all these things for practical persons. No man is a genius to his wife. But maugre that he is something more for dreamers of dreams. Though not the hippogriff with its liberating wings, vol-planing through the fourth dimension of space, nor yet is he tender Undine, spirit of fountains, of whom the unicorn asked, by the watchers of what valley has jealous mankind hidden the source of your secrets? Cousin german to the centaur of Maurice de Guérin, he can speak in like cadence. Alice, with her dreaming eyes of wonder, was, after the manner of little girls, somewhat pragmatic. She believed in unicorns only when she saw one. Yet we must believe without such proof. Has not the book of Job put this question, canst thou bind the unicorn with his band in the furrow? As if a harnessed unicorn would be credible. We prefer placing the charming monster with the prancing tiny hooves of ivory. Surely Chopin set him to musical notation in his capricious second etude in F. Chopin, who, if man were soulless, would have endowed him with one. In the same category as the chimera of the temptation of St. Anthony, which thus taunted space. I am light and joyous. I offer to the eyes of dazzling men perspectives with paradise in the clouds above. I seek for new perfumes, for vaster flowers, for pleasures never felt before. With unicorns, we feel the nostalgia of the infinite, the sorcery of dolls, the salt of sex, the vertigo of them that skirt the edge of perilous ravines, or straddle the rim of finer issues. He dwells in equivocal twilights, and he can stare the sun out of countenance. The enchanting unicorn boasts no favored zone. He runs around the globe. He is of all ages and climes. He knows that fantastic land of Gautier, which contains all the divine lost landscapes ever painted, and whose inhabitants are the lovely figures created by art in granite, marble, or wood, on walls, canvas, or crystal. Betimes he flashes by the nymph in the brake, and dazzled she sighs with desire. Mallarmé set him to cryptic harmonies and placed him in a dim rich forest, though he called him a faun in retortion. Like the apocryphal Sadhuzag in Flaubert's cosmical drama of dreams, which bore 74 hollow antlers from which issued musical of ineffable sweetness, our unicorn sings ravishing melodies for those who possess the inner ear of mystics and poets. When angered, he echoes the seven thunders of the apocalypse, and we hear the desperate rumors of fire, flood, and disaster. And he haunts those ivory gates of sleep, whence come ineffable dreams to mortals. He has always fought with the lion for the crown, and he is always defeated. but invariably claims the victory. The crown is art, and the lion, being a realist born, is only attracted by its glitter, not the symbol. The unicorn, an idealist, divines the inner meaning of this precious fillet of gold. Art is the modern philosopher's stone, and the most brilliant jewel in this much contested crown. Eternal is the conflict of the real and the ideal. Aristotle and Plato, Alice and the unicorn, the practical and the poetic, the butterflies and the geese, and rare roast beef versus the impossible blue rose. And neither the lion nor the unicorn has yet fought the battle decisive. Perhaps the day may come when, wariness invading their very bones, they may realize that they are as different sides of the same coveted shield, matter and spirit, the multitude and the individual. Then unlock the ivory tower, abolish the tyrannies of superannuated superstitions, and give the people vision without which they perish. The divine rights of humanity, no longer of kingly cabbages. The dusk of the future is washed with the silver of hope. The lion and the unicorn in single yoke, strength and beauty, should represent the fusion of the ideal and the real. There should be no anarchy, no socialism, no brotherhood or sisterhood of mankind, just the millennium of sense and sentiment. What title shall we give that faraway time, that longed-for utopia? With Alice and the Fawn, we forget names, so let us follow her method when in doubt and exclaim, "Here then, here then!" Morose and disillusioned souls may cry aloud, "Ah, to see behind us no longer on the lake of eternity the implacable wake of time." Nevertheless, we must believe in the reality of our unicorn. He is Pan. He is Puck. He is Shelley. He is Ariel. He is whim. He is irony. And he can boast with Emerson, "I am the owner of the sphere, of the 7 stars and the solar year, of Caesar's hand and Plato's brain, of Lord Christ's heart and Shakespeare's strain." So I thought that was an interesting little article. I really like that I looked up interdimensional or multidimensional. So one of those words came up, or ethereal, and here comes a unicorn. And unicorns, they're like a mystical, magical creature that we believe to be real, but maybe on another plane of existence. And yet, when I listened to the Cosmic Empress the other day on her YouTube channel, I looked at, it was about a 30 or 40 minute episode, maybe 39 minutes, about, in fact, I think it was like 39 minutes and 6 seconds, because I've been thinking today how 3, 6, and 9 in all the different, 693, 936, 963, all of those numbers are actually were revered by Nikola Tesla, and they're magical, and they are the bits of creation according to Nikola Tesla. And I've been thinking about it today, and even in my own birthday, like 8 and 25 adds up to 33, and it's a master number, but you could break it down to 6. So there's the 3s, there's a 6, and then in my year 1968 was like a 6. It breaks down to 6 again. So I was thinking how I have the 3s and the 9s, but 33 plus 6 would actually be, well, I guess it would be 12, which would be 3. But anyway, and then my main number is 3. So I've been thinking how 3 and 6 and 9 play out in my life over and over again. And anyway, I've been Anyway, so I now I'm thinking back on that video, and I think it was like 36 or 39 minutes and 6 seconds or something like that. I don't know if you can hear the fireworks outside. I'm so excited. I love fireworks. We don't have 4th of July in Ecuador because we were not liberated from the British in this country. That was only the United States, right? So the big day for all the fireworks is New Year's. So it's kind of like our equivalent to 4th of July, even though it's a different thing, obviously. And it's celebrated all around the world. So I love that we're all celebrating one thing all together, all humans at one time. We're just celebrating the turn of the new year. I think that's like really incredible. I don't know if you guys find the unity of that to be incredible, but I sure do. Every year I'm just all kinds of inspired, and now I'm hearing these people are out here selling fireworks and effigies, like I mentioned yesterday in that episode, and it's like so incredible. Today my son said, I don't want an effigy of Donald Trump this year. I think I want an effigy without a face on it, or something that's not human. I don't want to burn the equivalent of a human this year. I'm like, all right, that's fair enough. We'll find something cool. I saw Pikachu out there earlier, so might be Pikachu to the rescue yet one more time this year. All right, so then I found another book written or published in 1869, again, a very old book, and it's called Eccentricities of the Animal Creation, and it is by John Timbs, Timbs, like the word limbs, like your arms, legs, limbs, but with a T, Timbs, Timbs. He's also the author of Things Not Generally Known, which also sounds very interesting because it's so old, and I love to see the perspective of what we have now versus then. Oh, what I forgot to say before I get into this book. So Cosmic Empress, she talked about all of the creatures and beings, all the starseeds from all the different planets and dimensions that were in Atlantis. And when she looked into the Akashic records, Atlantis was like 50,000 years it lasted. And she said that at the height of it, it was like 50,000 years ago or something like that. Maybe that's what she said, but maybe it lasted longer than that. But she said that all of the creatures and beings and all the things that we think we made up actually real. And they actually were real on Earth at that time in the 5th dimension. So the fauns, the centaurs, the fairy folk that were visible, dragons, mermaids, and yes, the unicorns, Pegasus, they all come from I think she said they came from the Vega star system. Now I can't remember. You got to go look at Cosmic Empress. Her stuff, she's wild and eccentric, and I love her dearly. And I swear she's my soul family. And when I told Jude, he's my near twin, I'm like, hey, go over there and look at her stuff. And he wrote me, he's like, oh my God, she's our soul family. I know that we know her somehow. She's super familiar. Like, yeah, she is. She's incredible. In fact, one of the people I saw today on Gaia, I'm like, oh, I know her. I saw her and I kind of recognized her right away. And then I saw her, like, a few different aspects of her. I, saw her very young, and then I saw her as she is now. And, her face started morphing for me. And then all of a sudden, she said something, and I'm like, aha, that's how I know you. We have a past life together. She was burned at the stake as a witch many times. Like, yeah, me too. So that's how we were burned at the stake together once. At least once, maybe twice. And I'm like, that's how I know you. We're starting to find our people. I don't know if you guys are aware of finding your people, but I know you are going to be aware of it because you're already finding them. You might not be aware you're finding them, but pretty soon, everything's coming to light. Anyway, so she did say that unicorns are absolutely real. They were real. They were not only real, but on Earth at that time. And we were all in the 5th dimension when Atlantis was here. And then we dropped down to the 3rd. And now we're bouncing back up, baby. That song, Bounce Back. I don't know if you guys saw the movie Always Be My Maybe. If you haven't, go watch it on Netflix. Oh my God. It's such a hilarious show. It's a hilarious movie. It's really sweet. It's a romantic comedy, but it's more comedy than romance. And it's Ali Wong, who I just adore her. And Randall Park, I love him too. It's set in San Francisco, one of my favorite cities on earth. But so Eccentricities of the Animal Creation by John Timms. And it's funny because he's like, introduction is talking about zoology, and then he talks about the rhinoceros, and then he goes into mermaids, and then the unicorns, and then moles, like the little tiny moles that burrow under the ground, and then the great ant bear, curiosities of bats, the hedgehog, we love hedgehogs, they're adorable, hippopotamuses in England, lion talk, bird life, birds, eggs, and nests, toucans, penguins, it goes on and on, owls. So it's like, out of all of these, he doesn't really talk about mythological creatures other than mermaids. And and then he has leaves about bookworms. Oh my God, it says bookworms, their destructiveness. And they're actually talking about actual worms that used to eat books. That's insane. Boring marine animals and human engineers. That's another. So it's like crazy because he's like talking about actual animals, and in the middle of this book, he's talking about mermaids, and then he's talking about unicorns, and he's talking about ancient evidence of mermaids, and we might read this again, and he's talking about ancient evidence of unicorns, and he even talks about Aristotle. So we're going to go to his chapter on unicorns only. We're going to read this today. I was just thinking this is so absolutely incredible. I had to go flip over and make sure I actually am recording on this. I'm not like shouting in the dark in my room by myself like a crazy person. All right. So the name of his chapter, and I just love this, it's called "Is the Unicorn Fabulous?" ? Is the unicorn fabulous? Of course the unicorn is fabulous. Excuse me for blowing my nose again. Oh my goodness. Okay. So, is the unicorn fabulous? Of course he is. All right. To this question, we may reply in the words of a writer of 1633. Concerning the unicorn, different opinions prevail among the authors. Some doubt, others deny, and a third class affirm its existence. The question has lasted 2,000 years. So, okay, he's writing this in 1869. So since that's really crazy, right? So the question has lasted 2,000 years and is every now and then kept alive by fresh evidences. Now, I'm not going to say this word right. It's a Greek name. Ctesias. Ctesias. I'm going to say the C is silent, I guess. Ctesias, a credulous Greek physician who appears to have resided at the court of Persia in the time of the younger Cyrus, about 400 years before the birth of Christ, describes the wild asses of India as equal to the horse in size and even larger, with white bodies, red heads, and bluish eyes, and a horn on the forehead a cubit in length. The part from the forehead entirely white, the middle black, and the extremity red and pointed. Drinking vessels were made of it, and those who used them were subject neither to convulsions, epilepsy, nor poison, provided that before taking the poison or after they drank from these cups water, wine, or any other liquor. Ctesias describes these animals as very swift and very strong. Naturally, they were not ferocious, but when they found themselves and their young surrounded by horsemen, they did not abandon their offspring, but defended themselves by striking with their horns, kicking and biting, and so slew many men and horses. This animal was also shot with arrows and brought down with darts, for it was impossible to take it alive. Its flesh was too bitter for food, but it was hunted for its horn and astragalus, or ankle bone, which last Ctesias declares he saw. Aristotle describes the Indian ass with a single horn. Herodotus mentioned asses having horns. I'm sorry, the teenage boy comes up in me when I read that. Okay, asses having horns. Herodotus mentions asses having horns, and Strabo refers to unicorn horses with the heads of deers. Oppian notices the Aeonian bulls with undivided hooves and a single median horn between their temples. Pliny notices it as a very ferocious beast, similar in its body to a horse with the head of a deer, the feet of an elephant, the tail of a boar, a deep bellowing voice, and a single black horn standing out in the middle of its forehead. He adds that it cannot be taken alive, and some such excuse may have been necessary in those days for not producing the living animal upon the arena of the amphitheater. Oh, it's getting weirder and weirder. Alright, so I took a quick break to blow my nose, and it just went ahead and uploaded that part. So I gotta so now I've got it. This is like part 2 of like the main part of the show. Sorry about that, guys. It's so strange. All right. I've never made a show directly from my laptop. It's only ever been on my phone, and now my phone is messing up. So I'm gonna go get a new battery this week, I swear, and we'll see if it was the battery. When I check the battery health, it says it's fine. So I don't know what that means. Okay. It continues. Out of this passage, most of the modern unicorns have been described and figured. The body of the horse and the head of the deer appear to be but vague sketches. The feet of the elephant and the tail of the boar point at once to a pachydermatous, thick-skinned animal, and the single black horn, allowing for a little exaggeration as to its length, well fits the last two mentioned conditions, will apply to the Indian rhinoceros, which, says the sound naturalists Ogilvy, affords a remarkable instance of the obstructions which the progress of knowledge may suffer, and gross absurdities which not unfrequently result from the wrong application of a name, unquote. Mr. Ogilvy then refers to the account of Ctesias, which we have just quoted, and adds, his account, though mixed up with a great deal of credulous absurdity, contains a very valuable and perfectly recognizable description of the rhinoceros under the ridiculous name, however, of the Indian ass. And as he attributed it to a whole hoof like the horse and a single horn in the forehead, speculation required but one step further to produce the fabulous unicorn, unquote. The ancient writers who have treated of the unicorn are too numerous for us to specify. Some of the moderns may be referred to. Garcias describes this marvelous creature from one who alleges that he had seen it. The seer affirmed that it was endowed with a wonderful horn, which it would sometimes turn to the left and right, at others raise, and then again depress. Ludovicus Vartomenus. That is a crazy name. Let me try it again. Ludovicus Vartomenus writes that he saw two sent to the Sultan from Ethiopia and kept in a repository at Mahomet's tomb in Mecca. Cardan describes the unicorn as a rare animal, the size of a horse with hair very like that of a weasel, with the head of a deer, on which one horn grows 3 cubits in length. Aristoteles seldom lose anything in his progress. from the forehead, ample at its lowest part, and tapering to a point, with a short neck, a very thin mane, leaning to one side only, and less on the ear as those of a young roe. In Johnson's Historia Naturalis from 1557, we see the smooth-horned solipede, walled Essel, and the digitated and clawed smooth-horned mere wolf, the latter with the single horn erect in the foreground, but with it depressed in the background, where he is represented regaling on serpents. Then there are varieties with the head, the mane, and the tail of a horse, another smooth-horned, with a horse's head and mane, a pig's tail, and camel-like feet, the mere Stenbach Capricornus marinus, with hind webbed feet, and a kind of graduated horn, like an opera glass pulled out in the foreground and charging the fish most valiantly in the water in the distance. Then there is another with a mule's head and two rhinoceros-like horns, one on his forehead and the other on his nose, and a horse's tail with a collar around his neck, a neck entirely shaggy, and a twisted horn. A shaggy gorget and curly tail are among other peculiarities. The unicorn seems to have been a sad trouble to the hunters, who hardly knew how to come at it, so valuable a piece of game. Some describe the horn as movable at the will of the animal, a kind of small sword, in short, with which no hunter who was not exceedingly cunning in fence could have a chance. Others told the poor foresters that all the strength lay in its horn, and that when pressed by them it would throw itself from the pinnacle of the highest rock, horn foremost, so as to pitch upon it and then quietly march off, not a bit the worst. Modern zoologists, disgusted as they well may be with fables, such as we have glanced at, disbelieve generally the existence of the unicorn, such at least as we have referred to. But there is still an opinion that some land animal bearing a horn on the anterior part of its head exists besides the rhinoceros. The nearest approach to a horn in the middle of the forehead of any terrestrial mammiferous animal known to us is the bony protuberance on the forehead of the giraffe. And though it would be presumptuous to deny the existence of a one-horned quadruped other than the rhinoceros, it may be safely stated that the insertion of a long and solid horn in the living forehead of a horse-like or deer-like cranium is as near an impossibility as anything can be. Ruppel, after a long sojourn in the northeast of Africa, stated that in Kordofan the unicorn exists. Stated to be the size of a small horse, of the slender make of the gazelle, and furnished with a long straight horn in the male, which was wanting in the female. According to the statements made by various persons, it inhabits the deserts to the south of Kordofan, is uncommonly fleet, and comes only occasionally to the Koldagi Heath mountains on the borders of Kordofan. Other writers refer the unicorn to the antelope. The origin of the name of antelope is traced to Cuvier, to the Greek antelopes, applied to a fabulous animal living in the banks of the Euphrates with long jagged horns with which it sawed down trees of considerable thickness. Others conjecture this animal to have been the oryx, a species of antelope, which is fabulously reported to have only had one horn and to have been termed panthalopes in the old language of Egypt. In his book Revolutions on the Surface of the Globe, Cuvier refers to the idea of the unicorn to the coarse figures traced by savages on rocks. Ignorant of perspective and wishing to present and profile the horned antelope, they could only give it one horn, and thus originated the oryx. The oryx of the Egyptian monuments is most probably but the production of a similarly crude style, which the religion of the country imposed on the artist. Many of the profiles of quadrupeds have only one leg before and one behind. Why then should they show two horns? Is it possible that individual animals might be taken in the chase whom accident had despoiled of one horn, as it had often happened to chamois and the Scythian antelope, or chamois, or Chamois, 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 I guess, chamois, and the Scythian, Scythian. So, as often happens to the chamois and the Scythian antelope, and that would suffice to confirm the error which these pictures originally produced. It is thus, probably, that we find anew the unicorn in the mountains of Tibet. The Chiru, Chiru, antelope is the supposed unicorn of the Bothians. In form, it approaches the deer. The horns are exceedingly long, are placed very forward in the head, and may be popularly described as erect and straight. It is usually found in herds and is extremely wild and approachable by man. It is much addicted to salt in summer, when vast herds are often seen at the rock salt beds which abound in Tibet. They are said to advance under the conduct of a leader and to post sentinels around the beds before they attempt to feed. Major Salter, S-A-L-T-E-R, Major Salter, is stated to have obtained information of the existence of an animal in Tibet closely resembling the unicorn of the ancients, which revived the belief of naturalists by adducing testimonies from Oriental writings. Upon this statement, M. Klaproth remarks that previous to Major Salter's reports, the Catholic missionaries who returned to Europe from China by way of Tibet and Nepal in the 17th century mentioned that the unicorn was found in that part of the Great Desert which bounds China to the west, where they crossed the Great Wall. That Captain Turner, when traveling in Tibet, was informed by the Raja of Bhutan that he had one of these animals alive, and that Bell, in his travels to Peking, describes a unicorn which was found on the southern front of Siberia. He adds, the Great Tibetan-Mongol Dictionary mentions the unicorn, and the Geographical Dictionary of Tibet and Central Asia, printed at Peking, where it describes a district in the province of Kham, Kham, in Tibet, named Sera-Zeong, Sera-Zeong, explains this name by, quote-unquote, the River of Unicorns, because, adds the author, many of these animals are found there. In the history of the Mongol Khans, Khans, published and translated at St. Petersburg, we find this following statement. Genghis Khan, having subjected all Tibet in 1206, commenced his march for Hindustan. As he ascended Mount Jadanarung, he beheld a beast approaching him of the deer kind, of the species called Seron, S-E-R-O-N, which have a single horn at the top of the head. It fell on its knees thrice before the monarch, as if to pay respect to him. Everyone was astonished at this incident. The monarch exclaimed, the empire of Hindustan is, we are assured, the country where are born the majestic Buddhas and Bodhisattvas, as well as the potent Bhagdas and princes of antiquity. What can be the meaning, then, of this animal incapable of speech, saluting me like a man? Upon this he returned to his own country. This story, continues M. Klaproth, or Klaproth, is also related by Mohammedan authors who have written the life of Genghis. Something of the kind must therefore have taken place. Possibly some of the Mongol conquerors' suite may have taken a unicorn, which Genghis thus employed to gain a pretext for abstaining from an expedition which promised no success. Upon this statement, it was observed in the Asiatic Register of 1839 that, quote, when we consider that 17 years have elapsed since the account of Major Salter was given, and that, notwithstanding our increased opportunities of intercourse with Tibet, no fact has since transpired which supplies a confirmation of that account, except the obtaining of the supposed horn of the supposed unicorn. We cannot participate in these renewed hopes. The Reverend John, unquote, the Reverend John Campbell, in his travels in South Africa, describes the head of another animal which, as far as the horn is concerned, seems to approach nearer than the common rhinoceros to the unicorn of the ancients. While in the Machau territory, the Hottentots brought to Mr. Campbell a head differing from that of any rhinoceros than that had been previously killed. Quote, the common African rhinoceros has a crooked horn, resembling a cock's spur, which rises about 9 or 10 inches above the nose and inclines backward, immediately behind which is a straight, thick horn. But the head brought by the Hottentots had a straight horn projecting 3 feet from the forehead, about 10 inches from the tip, above the tip of the nose. The projection of this great horn very much resembles that of the fanciful unicorn in the British arms. It has a small, thick, horny substance, 8 inches long, immediately behind it, which can hardly be observed on the animal at the distance of 100 yards. So that this species must look like a unicorn in the sense one-horned when running in the field. The author adds, this animal is considered by naturalists since the arrival of the above skull in London to be the unicorn of the ancients, and the same that is described in Job, and this is a quote from Job in the Bible, will the unicorn be willing to serve thee, or abide by thy crib? Canst thou bind the unicorn with his band in the furrow? Or will he harrow the valleys after thee? Wilt thou trust him because his strength is great? Or wilt thou leave thy labor to him? Unquote. And again, in Deuteronomy in the Bible, it says, quote, his horns are like the horns of unicorns. With them ye shall push the people together to the ends of the earth. Unquote. Strange, right? A fragment of the skull with the horn is deposited in the museum of the London Missionary Society. You know, guys, I really want to go see this. Is it still there? Is anyone listening to my show from England or Europe? Can you guys check and see if this still exists? I mean, I want a picture of this, that there's really a skull with a unicorn horn in it. I want to see it. Anyway, okay, so it goes on. Mr. W.B. Balke, oh my God, again with the names. B-A-I-K-I-E, Bakey, Mr. W.B. Bakey, writes to the Athenaeum from Beta Nupe, Central Africa, in 1862, the following suggestions. When I ascended the Niger River, now nearly 5 years ago, I frequently heard allusions to an animal of this nature, but at the time I set it down as a myth. Since then, however, the amount of testimony I have received and the universal belief of the natives of all the countries which I have hitherto visited have partly shaken my skepticism, and at present I simply hold that its non-existence is not proven. A skull of this animal is said to be preserved in a town in the country of Bonu, through which I hope to pass in the course of a few weeks, when I shall make every possible inquiry. 2 among my informants have repeatedly declared to me that they have seen the bones of this animal, and each made particular mention of the long, straight, or nearly straight, black horn. In countries to the east and southeast, as Margi and Bajirmi, where the one-horned rhinoceros is found, the hunters carefully distinguished it and the supposed unicorn, and gave them different names. In the vast forests and boundless wastes which occur over Central Africa, especially towards the countries south and east of Lake Tsad, Bornu, Bajirmi, and Adamawa, are doubtless numerous zoological curiosities as yet unknown to the man of science, and among them possibly may exist this much talked of strange one-horned animal, even though it may not exactly correspond with our typical English unicorn. The factitious horn has been preserved in various museums. The monocero horn in Tradescant's collection was probably that which ordinarily has passed for the horn of the unicorn, namely the tooth of a narwhal. Yeah, see, there's also the whale that's a unicorn whale, the narwhals, right? Old legends assert that the unicorn, when he goes to drink, first dips his horn in the water to purify it, and that other beasts delay to quench their thirst till the unicorn has thus sweetened the water. The narwhal's tooth makes a capital twisted unicorn's horn, as represented in the old figures. That in the repository of Saint Denis at Paris was presented by Thevet, and was declared to have been given to him by the king of Monomotapa, who took him out to hunt unicorns, which are frequent in that country. Some have thought that this horn was a carved elephant's tooth. There is one at Strasbourg, some 7 or 8 feet in length, and there are several in Venice. Great medicinal virtues were attributed to the so-called horn, and the price it once bore outdoes everything in tulipomania. A Florentine physician has recorded that a pound of it, 16 ounces, was sold in the shops for 1,536 crowns. That's a long time in the 1800s, right? When the same weight in gold would only have brought 148 crowns. Wow. And we don't even know what a crown is today, do we? I don't think anyone uses that anymore. From what source we derive the stories of the animosity between the lion and the unicorn is not clearly understood. Although this is the principal medium through which the fabulous creature has been kept in remembrance by being constantly before us in the royal arms, which were settled at the Ascension. I'm sorry. Whoa, I just read the word Ascension and it says Accession. Sorry. Accession. Accession of George I. We owe the introduction of the unicorn, however, to James I, who, as King of Scotland, bore 2 unicorns and coupled one with the English lion when the 2 kingdoms were united. The position of the lion and the unicorn in our arms of our country seems to have given rise naturally enough in the mind of one who was ignorant of heraldic, Heraldic, heraldic decoration, to a nursery rhyme which most of us remember. The lion and the unicorn were fighting for the crown. The lion beat the unicorn all around the town, etc. Unless it alludes to a contest for dominion over the brute creation, which the rebellious unicorn, as Spenser calls it, seems to have waged with the tawny monarch. Spenser, in his poem The Fairy Queen, gives the following curious way of catching the unicorn. Like as a lion whose imperial power a proud rebellious unicorn defies, to avoid the rash assault and wrathful stour of his fierce foe, him a tree applies, and when him rousing in full course he spies, he slips aside the whiles that furious beast, his precious home sought of his enemies, strikes in the stock, ne thence can be released, but to a mighty victor yields a bounteous feast. Shakespeare also, in Julius Caesar, Act 2, Scene 1, speaks of the supposed mode of entrapping them. Quote, for he loves to hear that unicorns may be betrayed with trees, and bears with glasses, elephants with holes, lions with toils, and men with flatterers. Unquote. We have no satisfactory reason for believing that man ever coexisted with mastodons. Otherwise, Professor Owen's discovery of the retention of a single tusk only by the male gigantic mastodon might have afforded another form of unicorn. Whatever the zoologists may have done towards extirpating the belief of the existence of the unicorn, it is ever kept in sight by heraldry, which, with its animal absurdities, has contributed more to the propagation of error respecting the natural world than any other species of misrepresentation. All right, so there's the article from that book. Now, it's like from 1869, right? So now I'm going to look up unicorn in Africa. I'm looking this up in real time here. Okay, so you guys, all of this speculation went forever until now, I believe is 20 years ago or 30 years ago, they actually did find an actual unicorn in Africa. It's like a little goat with a single horn. And it says here, digestafrica.com, there are only 3 unicorns in Africa, according to a recent report by CB Insights. The report, which pegs the number of unicorns in the entire world at 266, listed Nigeria's Jumia, as well as South Africa's Promasidor Holdings and Cell C as the only ones from Africa. So, I don't know, is that like, are they talking about animals or are they talking about coins or something? That'd be so weird if I didn't even know that, like, we don't call them dollars here, we call them unicorns. I mean, that'd be strange. Do they mean actual animals? Oh my god, that's actually a coin. Never mind. That was stupid. Never mind. That's not what I'm looking up. So that's a blockchain coin. That's weird. It's like, why the actual unicorns or actual unicorn discovered? I'm going to look up. It's funny because when I looked this up a minute ago, they showed pictures of the goat-like creature that's like a unicorn in Africa. Oh my god. Okay, now this is another fun one. All right. Real unicorn remain found. And this is CNN.com, March 29th, 2016. They found literally the remains of a unicorn in Siberia. They call it a Siberian unicorn. Now, this is really crazy. What the heck? It's called an Elasmotherium sibericum, or Siberian unicorn. And they found the fossilized remains from 29,000 years ago. And let's see. The bad news is it looks nothing like the mythical creatures portrayed in so many fairy tales. Yeah, this creature is really strange. It's like a short, crazy-looking. I don't even know what to call it. What I can even say this looks like. It looks like a little short horse with a really, it's almost like a pyramidal looking. It's almost like the Merkaba, the top of our Merkaba is what it would look like. But it's crazy that this is on CNN. So there really is. And it says, yeah, they're trying to figure it out. What happened to the potential extinction of this beast? I think 350,000 years ago, they think. Anyway, they're saying that it's in reality more of a rhino. It doesn't really look like a rhino. Maybe a little bit it does, but it's very hairy, very long fur. But it says it's fatter and furrier with a huge horn. All right. Kind of like my ex-husband. Just kidding. I'm still looking this up now. Okay, I don't know. I know you guys must remember the story that like 30 years ago or 20 years ago, there was a little goat-like creature that wandered into the plains from the jungle in Africa. I don't even remember what part of the continent of Africa. I don't know what country. And somebody from the Western world was happening to be there, just taking pictures of the people and really digging into the culture and learning more about the culture of these tribal people. And they talked to him about unicorns, and he just kind of blew it off. And then one wandered from the jungle out into the field near where he was, and he took a picture of it. And it was like a little goat creature, and it had a one horn. It was a unicorn. It wasn't like a horse. How rude. It actually just completely stopped recording, and I was like talking along, and then oops. Anyway, I don't know if you guys remember this because I might be coming from a different timeline, but it was like 20 or 30 years ago. I don't even remember when now. As the timelines meld and as we go up in multidimensionality, our memories are starting to either fade or meld together, or we're having multiple memories at once. Multiple memories at once. I'm having like massive amounts of allergies right now. But there was an animal that I looked it up, and then I just had so many technical difficulties at once. So let me do the search again. Unicorn in Africa, goat-like. I don't know if I'll be able to find it or not. I want to call it an obex or something. All right. So now I'm not finding this. This is like, and on the BBC they have an article called "Meet 10 Animals That Look Like Real Life Unicorns." And then there is The Natural History of Unicorns by Chris Lavers. He wrote a book on it. I think it's a more modern day book. Oh goodness. I'm not finding it. I want to say it was called an obex or something. Not ibex. I'm looking up the images now. Whoa. It's really creepy, you guys. I just saw it said unicorn head mounted. Oh, it's deviant art, so it's like someone made it. They made a fake unicorn head. It's like, that's like super creepy. There's a t-shirt that says, "Save the chubby unicorn." Hence a picture of a rhinoceros. There was an article, too, that I found about... it said that somebody did find a unicorn recently, and it was an animal whose horns grew together. But that wasn't what I'm talking about. All right, well, anyway, there's no way I'm going to find this. It says, so maybe it's here. National Geographic, unicorn deer in Slovenia has his antlers were fused, and they just found it dead. And that's on nationalgeographic.com. So anyway, the story that I was remembering is that basically this guy had lived in this village in Africa. He was like an anthropologist, and he's trying to learn more about the culture. He's trying to figure it out. And, he thought it was just a myth. These people don't know what they're talking about. Clearly, we're smarter from where I come from. That kind of BS, the cultural BS that a lot of anthropologists, they can't get past their own cultural bias sometimes. Just like the rest of us, sometimes we have problems, getting past it. But when people tell them there's unicorns, of course they're real. They look like little goats with one horn. And in this one part of Africa, now I don't remember what part of the continent it's on, I don't know what country, but I remember the story. He came upon this village, and they were roasting a goat-like creature over a spit, and it had a unicorn horn. And he's like, oh my God, these things are real, oh my God. And then he was exploring further into the jungle, and right when he got to the edge of the jungle, one of these creatures, a goat with one horn, came out and just went into the plains, and he's like, oh my God, it's real. So that's where all the unicorns come from. It's not, I don't believe where it comes from exactly, but I think that there really are unicorns. I think that they really do exist, and that they didn't really, I guess they stopped existing maybe when we dropped down to the third dimension, and maybe they're still in the fifth dimension. I'm not really sure. But anyway, I don't know if you guys, I don't think you even heard me say about Oberon Zellravenhart. He is a man who writes about being a wizard. He fancies himself a wizard. He's a magical creature himself, like many of us are. And he talks at length in a book that he wrote about. It's kind of for kids of all ages who want to be wizards or magical beings. And he talks about the goats that he created to look like unicorns. And they're goats, and they're Angora goats with a very long fur, and they're white. And I'm looking at a picture of one right now. He talks about a surgical procedure you do on their forehead when they're little. And he talks about how to make sure they don't feel it. And then you take really thick rubber bands and tie the two horns together until they fuse as one. And then he created unicorns that way. And they went traveling through Barnum and Bailey Circus, or with the Barnum and Bailey Circus. And he took good care of his goats. And then at the end, he brought them home, but he called them unicorns. He said, look, unicorns are real. He wanted kids to believe in magic. And that's how he did it, basically. So anyway, I hope that these pieces of literature have been exciting and interesting for you. I'm going to go to now a really ridiculously cute website called unicornsrule.com. And it's like got the backgrounds like wallpaper, rainbows, and hearts. It's called Unicorns Rule, the website of unicorn lovers. And they say, are unicorns real? Unicorn facts, rainbows and unicorns, fun quotes, blah, blah, blah. So I'm going to go to the Are Unicorns Real part. Hopefully. It's something not totally crazy. It says, unicorns have always been evasive and hard for science to study. Yeah, that's true. But the short answer, they say, is why not? And it says, all great civilizations have recognized real-life unicorns. And it says that they were the object of a fruitful commerce for centuries during the Middle Ages. And you know what, you guys, I recorded the introduction was almost an hour long, and I talked about a life I had in the Middle Ages. I'm gonna re-record that. Hopefully it'll be as good as the first one. But we were in Middle Ages. We were still in the 5th dimension, starting to go down into the 3rd, and magic was still real then. Unicorns. Let's see. This person says unicorns are still as real today as they ever were and will be forever. It says it's just real unicorn sightings are universally acknowledged. They say through Mesopotamia, Crete, ancient Greece, China, all great early civilizations of the world talk about them. Indian Peninsula. And then there's unicorn commerce. Unicorns are attracted by virginity is one of the things. Interesting. This is an interesting website. Okay, so it's talking about how unicorns have an exceptional purity to them. I don't know. I mean, none of this article is cited for anything, but the unicorn meaning now, when unicorns come to you, I told you guys a couple days ago, maybe even was it yesterday? I don't know. My time is all melding together now that I'm becoming more multidimensional. Did you guys find that you're just like, I don't know, was it last week or was it an hour ago? What the hell is happening right now? It's like time confusion, and that's like one of the new ascension symptoms. But unicorns been coming to me like over the last week or so. Not only is Jude Dikoff, my near twin flame, it's on his herald. His heraldry is literally, his family crest is a unicorn that's angry and is broken free from his chains, right? And it's like so cool. He showed that to me. I was like, what? That is like so freaking cool, because you could fully get a unicorn tattoo and people might make fun of you and you go, yeah, but it's my family crest, right? Which is related to Scotland. So it's pretty cool. Anyway, so that, he mentioned his unicorn thing a couple times in the past week. I ran into a bunch of unicorn slippers and unicorns like pajamas at a store near one of the grocery stores where I shop. Then my son and I went to a whole different store in another part of town, and I found a bunch of purses, and then one lonely purse had a unicorn on it that said happy birthday, which I thought was weird. I found that on Christmas Eve, which I mentioned. And then there was something else about unicorns. Well, anyway, then today when I was looking at ethereal realms, a book called Unicorns came up, which is what I've already read from. So unicorn has come into me a lot. So it says meanings associated to the unicorn are innocence, feminine energy, and magic. So, well, that makes sense. It's not uncommon to see unicorn references in fantasy novels, children's books, and mythical stories throughout the ages, because the unicorn is a fascinating mythical animal that captivates our imagination. Well, you guys, it's not a mythical animal. And it's funny because then on this person's other page, are unicorns real? And then another page, unicorn facts. But then on this page, they're saying it's a mythical animal. It's not mythical. Mythical means it's not real. I have a feeling that it absolutely is real, though. Anyway, a unicorn definition, just basically unicornius means, or unicornus is the Latin, which just means basically single horn. So usually it's a white horse with a single straight horn on its head, projecting out forward, kind of at I'd have to say it's a 45-degree angle, usually, if its head was kept, normal, not bowed or lifted up. And they are reputed to live for 1,000 years, and it says the legend has it that the creature is tireless when it's pursued, but it'll fall meekly to the ground when approached by somebody with a pure heart. Do you guys? I don't know why I'm thinking of Tom Cruise petting the unicorn in that one movie, Legend of something. I don't know. I can't even remember what that movie's called now. It was one of the most beautiful, literally one of the most beautiful things. It's like a golden river with a unicorn drinking from it. It tips its horn into the water, and it looks up and all the splash of the water goes behind it. And Tom Cruise was so young in this movie, and he walks up and he pets the horse, the unicorn, and it was like, and he was like with his lady love. It was just this really beautiful moment. I don't know if you guys remember that, but unicorns are strongly associated with feminine, and they have a symbol of chastity, like virginity, purity, divine presence, the divine power that nurtures all living things. And they say that only a virgin can catch a unicorn. I mean, it says, although some people interpret these facts differently, that any woman would have been able to grant a sweet friendship, or be granted a sweet friendship. I can't even talk now. A sweet friendship with a unicorn. Doesn't matter her age or station are of no account, as long as she has a purity of heart. That's all she has to possess. For a unicorn requires not that she has never had the touch of a man, but an unmoderated desire for that touch has not closed her inner vision or provoked her into worldly pursuits. All right. This is a really strange website. I like it though. So she's associating this with the moon and femininity, and it's an archetype that is considered valid, and it's a universal energy pattern. I agree with that, because it's one of those things that we're just like, we get so obsessed with. I don't know. I do. I have moments where I get obsessed. That's why I'm doing a show right now. Because why do I keep running across unicorn slippers, people with hats and t-shirts with unicorns on them? I mean, I've been seeing unicorns everywhere for like 2 weeks. It is a symbol of magic and wonder. It's associated with magic, miracles, and enchantment. People who are pure of heart and virtuous in their deeds. A unicorn is associated with a vibrant imagination. And let's see. And she just says all the same things that she said on the other page, where it's in China, Greece. In the Hebrew Bible, they use the word unicorn. It was 8 mentions in the Old Testament of unicorns. And in heraldry, the traditional meanings of a unicorn in heraldry, which is a practice of devising, granting, displaying, describing, and recording your coats of arms and heraldic badges. The unicorn has several meanings. It is often represented as having a horse's body, a stag's legs, a lion's tail, and a straight spiraled horn growing from its forehead. Sometimes it's red and black. Another common representation in heraldry are unicorns shown with a collar and a broken chain. This is said to symbolize that they have freed themselves from bondage and cannot be taken ever again. The unicorn is most notable in heraldry for being employed as a supporter for the royal arms of Great Britain or of Scotland. So there you go. All right, that's it. That's all I got to say about unicorns today. I have no idea when my app's just going to shut on down again. And I do have to blow my nose again. I don't know if I'm having an allergy. It looks actually like there might be a little bit more volcanic ash in the air suddenly. The wind shifted. I had my window open. It might just be the volcanic ash I'm trying to blow out of my head. I probably just breathed in the ash of the San Gay volcano. Oh, well. Anyway, I want to thank you guys. I want to thank you for being a part of the show, for liking, favoriting, subscribing, and forwarding to other people who are of like mind and like heart, people in our soul family and soul tribe. And thank you for sharing with your groups on Instagram and Facebook and all that, and Twitter. I really appreciate it. It's helping. It's really helping. So continue to do that. I'm going to continue to do that. I'm hoping next year at this time I will be able to say, hey, I can support myself with my work finally. It'll be so awesome if this is true. Okay. Oh my gosh. My allergies have really taken a turn for the worse. Seriously, this has been one of the biggest nightmare episodes to create, because I had to shut down my computer and turn it back on. I had to shut down my phone and turn it back on. I did an hour-long introduction that will not upload. It's only 4% done. It's been at 4% now for about 4 hours. I was going to get this done by midnight Ecuadorian time, and it's now almost 1 Ecuadorian time. And I started this at 10 o'clock. And now I have to re-record the introduction. Unbelievable. But I've noticed that the more multidimensional I become and the more unattached to my physical body I become, the more my electronics are messing up. So I don't know if it's the electronics. I don't know if it's me. Is it me? Is it you? Is it the electronics? Is it you? No. I mean, not you guys, you, but I mean you. I'm pointing. You can't see me. I'm pointing to my computer. Is it you? I'm pointing to my computer. But anyway, it is what it is. Well, there you have it. Hopefully this has recorded and you can actually hear my voice. Now I've got to go test everything. This is my first show ever I've done with my computer, so I'm kind of getting used to it. I don't know. It's like me and electronics have always just kind of had this kind of a relationship where we're not mixing very well. I'm hoping this all works out. Let me know if it doesn't. Oh, actually, if you can't hear me, how would you? Never mind. Forget it. All right, that's it, guys. I'll be back tomorrow with all unique and original programming, just like always. Hopefully, I won't be blowing my nose every 5 seconds tomorrow. But that's all I'm going to say about that for now. I'm signing off with peace and joy and the high vibes, the holy fifth dimension. Until next time, guys, peace of the unicorns.
Do you ever wish you could look into the next chapter in your book of life and see what's coming next? What does the universe have in store for you? I can help you with that. I will give you a Celtic cross reading, which is 10 cards, or you can ask me 3 questions, and I use 3 cards per question. So that's 9 cards, or I can channel your higher guidance, or maybe God directly for you. Maybe you want to talk to your dear departed Aunt Edna, because maybe you have a few questions and she was the smartest person you knew. If your deceased relatives are available or your ascended masters, I can channel them for you personally. Let me have 1 hour to show you the future in your next chapter of your book of life. Readings are $75, and it takes me an hour to an hour and a half to complete. And for this price, you will also be hooked up to the healing grid around the planet for free, which means yours truly, me, I will be giving you Reiki 24 hours a day, 7 days a week for the rest of your life. All you have to do is let me know. MetaphysicalSoulspeak@gmail.com, and we will explore your future together.